Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, a show where we get you answers for all of your stock-related queries. Right now, you have the markets that are under pressure, a tad bit of recovery from the day's lowest point. But nevertheless, from the top, we have actually given up about 1% when you talk about the benchmark indices, and the fall is sharper when you talk about the broader markets. But like I said, this is a show where we get you answers for all of your stock-related query. Remember, you viewers, you can write to us on the WhatsApp number that will be flashing on your screen. And each time you write to us, mention your name, the stock that you're looking to invest in, mention that name as well, along with the buy price, the quantity and the time horizon. In that way, our experts will be able to help you better. So let's kickstart taking all the queries then. And this one is actually coming to you, Kunal. And this one is not about a stock. In fact, it is about crude oil prices. We have Vinay, who's writing to us from Bangalore. And since you actually track crude as well on the charts, how is it looking to you?
Well, I don't see a major uptick on the crude prices. I think what we are seeing right now is just a reaction to the geopolitical news flow which has transpired over the last 1 week. Prior to that, crude oil prices was trading, I think, at 67, $68 per barrel. It's come back to that 75 plus mark. I believe that looking at the historical context of the crude oil prices reacting to geopolitical news flow, that whenever there is a V-shaped rally into the asset class, it just it gets met with resistance and a sharp sell-off thereafter. So all you have to look out for is a range. So the range gets broadened when there is news flow. My belief is that 70 to 75 could be just about a pivot range for pivot support for crude oil prices. It should probably just about hang around to that $10 plus minus to this 70 to 75 range for itself over the very near term. So my expectation is that there may not be a major upswing into the crude oil prices. And looking at the last 2 years of price action, I think from 2022, if I'm not wrong, when crude oil prices were at 120, we are still looking at a major downtrend which has emerged into the asset class over the last 2 years. So that trend still persists for the asset.
That's the day coming in on crude. Moving on then, and Gaurang, the first query that I have is coming in from Ajit Walder from Muscat, and he's holding 200 shares of Varun Beverages, and his buy price is very near to the current market price as 549 rupees. What's your view for the long term on this particular stock, Gaurang?
Thank you, Srishri, and morning to you as well. So if I recollect very vaguely, we used to have some small note on this particular company. Currently, we don't have a coverage. But let me say this, Srishti, that in this kind of a market, when you're seeing absolute, sell-off in small and mid cap, you need to be open to expect this kind of lower pricing. But as far as the company is concerned, I think it is one of those listed entities in which, at least as far as I recollect, there is no peer comparison. And in terms of the business outlook, according to the management, it looks extremely, extremely strong. And if the earnings have to improve going forward from here on, then definitely it is going to be more positive. And I think from 10th October onwards, we are going to witness a curtain raiser for the Q2 earnings this financial year. I think there they should see some kind of respite in terms of recovery. So company is strong, business is good, there's no peer competition. The problem is near-term sell-off in the small and the mid-cap.
All right. This next query, Kunal, is coming in from our viewer, that is Sandeep. He's writing to us from Noida. Sorry, this one is for you actually. Gaurang, he wants to know about IEX. What's the long-term outlook? 570 shares at a price of 203 rupees per share.
This has been a very painful kind of an investment, Cheryl, for a lot of not only investors but also traders. It has disappointed both the categories. And the kind of concerns that were there in terms of the government's policy decision, and we've seen, over the last maybe about a year and a half, there have been multiple levels there. We've seen sell-off and recoveries have been very, very fragile for IEX. No specific coverage again over here, Cheryl, but when you invest into these kind of stocks wherein there's going to be government policy interference, which leads to impact on the earnings and share price, be extremely careful and cautious.
To the next query then, but before that, just take a look at the recovery that we are seeing on both the benchmark indices. There's been a mild recovery for Nifty 50 as well as the Nifty Bank Index, and Nifty Bank is down about 200 points as of now and has recovered almost 100 points in the last 15 minutes or so. But with this, let's move on and let's shift focus to the heavyweight Reliance, because Kunal, the next query is coming from Subrata Mukherjee, and he wants your take on Reliance as well as Glaxo Pharma. He wants to book his loss making Reliance Industries at this point in time, and should he rather go and make an investment into Glaxo Pharma for the long term?
See, I would probably believe Reliance is a much better bet from a long-term play, because the stock, even though in the recent leg of underperformance, I think at 2700, 2800 range, the stock should be looked as a longer-term bet. Reliance Industries has not done much over the last 1 to 2 years time span. So I think if you look at the relative returns for the stock, 2022 start or 22 start approximately, the stock was trading at 2650 mark, which means it's not done much from the last 2 years kind of a price perspective. So I think at current levels, I would probably believe that that's stock which holds a lot of potential on the upside. I would suggest to hold on Reliance Industries and not to make that switch.
All right, this one is coming in from viewer Sanjeev and Kunal. This one is for you. L&T Finance, he has about 2100 shares at a price of 116, and the other one is M&M Financial, 1100 shares at a price of 304. What's the 3-month and the 6-month view coming in for both of these counters?
See, the 3-month charts could be a bit dampened because of the recent selling. Because what could happen is that these stocks have gone through a broadly 10% correction from their recent swing highs. Maybe there could be another residual 5% correction, but then more than a 5% correction, it could be the time spent for the stock at those lower levels. That could be a bit tricky. But I would believe that both of these stocks, holds a lot of potential to break past about their previous lifetime highs or previous highs for themselves. For example, L&T Finance, I would probably believe that a potential target of 200 plus, 200 to 225 could be in the offing. Maybe take, after the selling, the stock may take a lot of, time to reach those levels. So I would believe that if you're a long-term investor with a time frame of 1 year plus, then I think it makes a lot of sense to hold on to these stocks as well as look to buy on dips, both for L&T Finance as well as M&M Finance.
All right, moving on to the next query. And Gaurang, the next query is from Kavita KS. She's a homemaker writing to us from Bangalore, and she's interested in entering a good healthcare stock for the next 1 to 3 years. So your view on the same, and she also wants an outlook on Titan. She didn't mention that she's already invested or looking for a fresh investment, but overall, where do you see Titan headed? If you can help her with your take.
So, Srishti, if I look at gold prices, I think Titan has got much more higher levels to go. We are already seeing 76,000 levels on gold. And thanks to the geopolitical situation currently, which we are witnessing, and of course, if there is any more pain that needs to be seen, flight to safety to gold is the option that a lot of investors choose to. So on Titan, to answer your second question first, we have a coverage of fundamental side, and the target stands at 4,000 plus. Again, if the business for gems and jewelry does good, festive season, gold prices, wristwatch doing extremely well, Carrot Lane acquisition also contributing to the balance sheet, and of course, accessories and backpack business doing well. I don't think it's going to be difficult for Titan to go towards those kind of targets. Sorry, I forgot, Srishti, what was the first question? Can you repeat?
The first query, she wanted to know any of your top bets from the healthcare space to make an investment for 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, sorry, apologies for that. So healthcare, you need to look at healthcare from 3 different perspectives. One is pharmaceuticals, other one is healthcare, pure healthcare in terms of hospitals, and the third one is in form of diagnosis. So pure healthcare, if you ask me, we have coverage on 3 names, Apollo Hospital, Narayan Rudalaya, and Fortis Healthcare. Now, out of this, if you are confused which one to choose, and if you are willing to take a larger player investment idea long term, then I think by default it is going to be Apollo Hospital. But along with that, Narayan Rudalaya also is one stock which has shown very promising signs of recovery in terms of earnings.
All right, a sharp recovery is underway in the markets at this point in time. Take a look at Nifty Bank. It has turned positive. Remember, just few minutes ago, or to be very precise, 24 minutes ago, we were talking about the markets at the day's lowest point. Look at the spike that's underway for Nifty Bank. It's actually seen, Nifty has seen a recovery of about 0.6% from the day's lowest point. Nifty Bank, almost 400 points recovery in the last few minutes is what it has registered. And the line graph is the proof of the fact that now you've seen a spike. And what exactly is happening in the markets, Kunal?
Yeah, I think again it's a, we discussed that it was a panic reaction for the, from the investors, from the traders in the markets after, looking at the last 4-5 days of price action. So this comes as a normalization and stability, something which I anticipated to happen probably tomorrow. I think it's a good sign that we've, seen a bounce back. So when bulls muster strength to try and counterpart, the force of selling from bears, I think that's the first sign of, the markets getting back into a stable territory. So I think now with today's low, which is around the 24,798 mark, I think on the spot levels of Nifty, if we don't retest those lows, say in the next couple of hours for the trading session, then I think we could have formed a near-term bottom.
Like you said, the bulls have mustered up courage to actually counter the selling by the bears. But do you think through the course of the day, will there be a hand-to-hand battle again?
I doubt so, because as we were discussing in the early morning, that the first or the brute force of the selling generally happens at around 11 to 12 kind of a PM. So I think if that gets absorbed in that time span, that's where the second half of the market looks to be a lot more better. So I think hopefully the storm would have passed out for the markets on an intraday basis, and I don't expect a major correction happening at least in the remainder part of the day.
All right, so that's the way how the markets are looking like at this point in time. We have seen the selling getting absorbed at least the last half an hour. We've seen 400 points bounce back coming in for Nifty Bank. You've Nifty seeing very healthy recovery, about 0.7%. Also, let's take a look at what the broader markets are doing. Is the recovery in those segments as well, the mid cap and the small cap index, which were hammered out of shape, actually 3% down for the small cap index. From there on, we've recovered a smart recovery coming from mid cap, 1,000-point recovery for the mid cap index, almost 2% recovery from the day's lowest point. And I could say the ditto coming in for the small cap index, a sharp recovery of about 1.8%. So yes, the recovery looks like is at play, and hopefully, like Kunal said, we will be able to sustain this momentum going ahead, Shrishti.
Well, certainly, and it's also the heavyweights that are participating in this recovery, and that is key to watch, because Reliance Industries as well as HDFC Bank both have seen a sharp spike. So let's track those movements as well. But with this, let's get back to your stock related queries then, viewers, and we have a lot of queries that are trickling in. And the next query that I have is on Amara Raja batteries. And Kunal, if you can help Satya on your take on Amara Raja, good to go and good to invest for the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I strongly believe so. In fact, the move which had transpired for Amara Raja batteries, 3 quarters back, when the stock moved from, I think, 750 to 1800 or 1700 thereabouts, I think was a very strong, ferocious up move for the stock. And that, these are the kind of up moves which chart off very strong multi-month, multi-year uptrend for stock prices. Yes, over the next 2 quarters so far, the stock has seen a mild correction. But when you see such a gigantic kind of a move, where stock doubles and rallies up significantly high on the back of exceptional volumes, there's bound to be a period where the stock consolidates, retraces towards the mean, and the indicators cool off. So I believe that from a longer term play, the stock looks attractive. I think a buy and dip strategy could be a much better strategy for the stock. So I think at current levels of 1320 approximately, in case you can start buying, and in case if you see further corrections say towards 1200, 1250 odd range, that would be a zone where you can look to add further.
So you can adopt a buy on dip strategy on Amara Raja batteries. But Gaurang, I wish to have your take as well, because this is a space which is ever evolving and a lot of transitions are happening. And Amara Raja too has big plans to set up a battery facility. So how do you see this stock for a long-term bet?
So, Shrishti, we have a fundamental coverage on Amara Raja Mobility. That's the name change for Amara Raja battery. It's a very core component for any vehicle, whether it is an ICE engine or a vehicle driven on CNG, or whether it is an electric vehicle. For electric vehicle, it is more the heart of the component of the vehicle. They have done extremely well in terms of their expansion capability. They are working on a new product which will take shorter time to charge, and it plays for a long time. That means it gives you a longer range. In-house development is shaping out quite well. And with given the kind of opportunity for those sectors which are counter dependent on auto sector, I think battery and tire manufacturing companies should be on your radar from a long-term investment idea. So you have it, hold it. If you're looking to invest in it, I think take opportunity of this correction and get invested.
So that's the take coming in on Amara Raja from both of our experts. But on that note, we'll slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. When we come back, we'll continue taking your query, viewers. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now. Let's keep it going with all your stock related queries then. And the next query that I have, Gaurang, is coming in on Bandhan Bank. This query is from Mohit, and he has got 500 shares of Bandhan Bank, and his buy price is almost the current market price at 187 rupees. But how do you like this stock, Gaurang, for the next 2 years investment horizon? Should he stay put?
So, Shri, the problem is the news flow in terms of the resignation of the top level individuals, then, of course, a replacement coming through. And more importantly, the problem is with the earnings front. It has been very choppy for Bandhan Bank in terms of Q2 numbers or maybe Q1 numbers reported, or even as a matter of fact, last financial, whatever 4 quarters we saw, it was quite a choppy kind of affair for Bandhan Bank. We do have a fundamental coverage on Bandhan Bank. Our only advice is that you need to have an elevated risk appetite given the choppiness of numbers reported and the reaction of it on the stock prices. Current levels look to be a very decent zone in terms of downside being protected. 230 or thereabouts is the target, and I believe this gentleman has got 2 years plus kind of a time horizon. I think the situation should improve and numbers should stabilize. So hold on to it from a long-term point of view.
Hold on to Bandhan Bank for the long-term perspective. Let me take this next one actually coming once again to you, Gaurang. This one is coming in from Ramesh. He's writing to us from Madras, and he wants to know about Ashoka Buildcon, 140 shares at a price of 244.7 rupees per share, to be very precise. He wants to know for the long term how the fundamentals looking for this one, and in case you have a positive outlook for the longer term, any targets that you've penciled in for Ashoka Buildcon.
Honestly, Cheryl, the stock has overshoot our target price, but we are still maintaining a hold on Ashoka Buildcon. Last not only 6 months, but last 1 year, if you look at the performance of the stock, it has been a wealth creator, much more from your small stroke mid cap universe. But the kind of activity and the sector that it is associated with, that is infrastructure, Cheryl, that is likely to perform well. Of course, we have state elections going on, and we have a couple of more states going into election. There can be a little bit of overhang on the infrastructure sector with respect to the orders coming in. But long term, I think it is one of the stocks that can perform quite well. Order book is very strong, and so is the capability of execution for Ashoka Build.
All right, that's the take coming in on Ashoka Buildcon. But the next query that I have is coming in on Zomato. And Gaurang, let me have your take on this as well, because Padma Sivarao from Bangalore wants to know, is this a good buy at current market price with a 5-year investment horizon?
This one has been a performer and a kind of a wealth destroyer, because after it got listed, the stock went up to 76 was the floor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shrishti. The stock went up to 140, 150. Then it corrected sub IPO price close to about 50 or 60 odd rupees. And now it is standing at about 265 levels. During IPO, we had given an IPO note to subscribe. Post that, we have a fundamental coverage on Zomato. I think it is the quick commerce, as we call it. Shrishti is doing quite well. Zomato has got a larger market share compared to Swiggy in terms of touch points, in terms of GOVs, or in terms of restaurants that are offered on their food delivery platform. Blinkit, which is a grocery platform, has been a great contributor to the balance sheet of Zomato. Long term, definitely hold on. And I think this company is now turning out to be a much grown up company from a new entrant. And I think future earnings should do extremely well, and that will translate into stock price targets revenue.
All right, so Gaurang, the low for Zomato, I believe, Kunal, was around 40?
Yeah, 40.6.
40.6 was the low, not 76, but 40.6. And from there on, you can see how the stock has recovered. And like Gaurang said, it has been the destructor for some of them who had invested during the IPO. From there on now, because of the doubts that everybody had on the Blinkit acquisition, they've made sure that they actually kind of negate all the naysayers. And there you go, the stock has seen a recovery of about 34% alone in the last 6 months or so. So that is the matter for you. Let's move on then. Let's take the next query. This one is coming in from Tanuja, writing to us from Calicut. And she is very tempted to go ahead and add IOC in a portfolio at current price. What's your take, Kunal? Do you think she should give in to this temptation of going ahead and buying IOC right now?
Yeah, you can. I'm assuming that you are looking at this as an approach towards more of long term, And the reason for picking up IOC, I think, is purely because the stock has come back towards a major support. So over the last 9-10 months, the stock was trading into a range 155.60 as a trading support and closer to 185-190 as a major resistance. The stock over the last 2 years has been forming a bullish flag formation, and buying the support at a flag formation on the longer term charts generally rewards very well from a longer term kind of a play. So I think at current levels of 160 approximately, it could be a good buy and dip strategy.
All right, that could be a good buy on dips for this particular stock. But moving on to the next counter, this query is coming in on BDL. And Kunal, if you can help Gaurav from Bangalore on this particular stock, can he go ahead and buy this one and stay invested for the next 18 months?
So we've seen that the PSU theme, the defense stocks, etc., these stocks have been going through a corrective phase over the last 3-4 months. From I think May or June highs, BDL is also corrected from 1700 to now on the verge of the 1000 mark. So the stock has broken below some crucial supports on the way down. The worry for the stock when I look at the charts is the lack of volumes when the stock has been going down, which means that the major chunk of investors are still holding on to the stock even after this 700 point odd drop from the recent swing highs. And that's a bigger concern, because till the time we don't see panic selling or stocks forming a major bottom on the back of heightened volumes, that's where we tend to anticipate that a bottom has been formed. So far the selling over the last few months is on the back of lower volumes, and that's a concern for stocks like BDL, which means that there could be more selling in line for the stock. I would suggest that just wait out for those signs when the stock forms a major bottom. Say that could happen maybe when the stock reaches the sub 1000 levels or slightly below those points as well. So wait out for that point where you can look to buy at points of extreme pessimism.
All right, this next one is coming to you actually, Kunal, and this one is coming from a viewer, Shankar from Tuticorin, and he has investments in Ircon International, IRFC as well as RVNL. The buy price is pretty attractive for all of it. Ircon is 57, IRFC is 32, RVNL, the buy price is around 416. Should he go ahead and increase his holding in some of these counters?
Not as of now. As I just mentioned, for BDL, that many of these, PSU names, they've gone through a selling pressure. Some of these stocks like IRFC, etc., many of these, 2 out of the 3 names that you mentioned, Ircon, I think these stocks are now trading below their 200 moving averages. RVNL, out of the 3 stocks which you mentioned, is the only one which is trading above the 200 DMA, which means that the medium to longer term trend for these stocks has been impacted. Wait out for a point where these stocks start to get back into a rally or a recovery mode. So either the first sign of volumes picking up or the first signs of these stocks breaking past above the previous swing highs. That could be a zone where you can look to start buying. But till then, I think just wait out for the opportunity.
All right, that's the take coming in on these railway names. But with this, it's once again time to slip into a very short break. Viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back and we'll be taking more of your stock-related queries. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, show where we get you answers for all of your stock-related queries. Let's continue taking your queries then. And this next one is coming from Reema, writing to us from Pune. She's holding Geo Financial as well as Bajaj Finance for the longer term, but she wants to know near-term support for them. And can she add some more at these levels or wait for further dips? What's your take on this, Kunal? Geo Financial as well as Bajaj Finance.
So bullish on both of these names. My expectation is that Bajaj Finance, for example, I think has been forming a major price pattern for itself. So I think on the longer term charts, the stock has formed a double bottom at 6,500, 600 levels as a support. The volumes have risen up higher. The stock has come back into a breakout in terms of indicators. So I think on the back of it, I would probably expect that over the next, say, 3 months to 6 months, the stock could retest the life highs of 7,800 to 8,000 plus. And for Geo Finance also, I think my targets would be that the stock may come back to that 360 to 380 levels at least over the very near term.
All right, that's the take coming in on Geo Financials. We're moving on to the next query. And Gaurang, this query is from Krishnan Rajgopal. He's a senior citizen and wants your take on 2 counters. Good time to buy Bharti Airtel or Bharat Forge at current market price? Gaurang, if you can unmute yourself and help us with your take.
I'm sorry, I
No,
was on
please go
mute. I
ahead.
beg your pardon, Srishti. So I think Bharti Airtel is one of the top performer, in fact, in this kind of a market, and it's virtually close to its lifetime high, if I'm not mistaken. Fundamentally, again, second largest player after Jio cellular services. Great subscriber base. Operationally wise, domestically, they are doing extremely well. Overseas operation, which were a little bit of concern, has now started to be contributing to the balance sheet. Uh, so my sense is, and of course the ARPUs, which are currently at about 275, 280 or thereabouts, likely possibility it can go towards 300. There is a possibility or a rumor in the market by December you will have another high tariff hike coming through, and possibly next year you might see one or two more. So that offers extremely well. So hold on to Bharti. If not, you can invest in it. Bharat Forge, again, the American business dependency is a kind of a drag, but I think the best thing that the management did in terms of shifting onto the business, new business, that was getting into defense. And that has augured extremely well for Bharat Forge. So fundamentally, we have coverage on both. Have investment, continue to hold on. If not, take opportunity and get invested.
Right, just a quick note for the markets. We've given up those gains. Once again, very volatile moves coming in for the benchmark indices. You have the Nifty Bank that's given up about 1.2% from the day's highest point, or rather in the last few 15 odd minutes, almost 100 to 200 points down to coming in for Nifty Bank. After that initial spike that we saw, we've again given up those gains. So yes, volatile moves, you could say that the markets are logging in at this point in time. But let's move on then. And let's take this next query coming in from Nitin, and Gaurang, coming right back to you. He wants to know if CAMS is a good counter to look at current levels.
So let me answer this question on sectorially, Cheryl, because we don't have coverage on CAMS. So, if your view is, if one investor's view is that the Indian stock markets are going to do extremely well over the next 3 to 5 years, then all those entities which are related to the stock market, whether it is a platform provider like a BSC or an MCX, whether it is a services provider like CAMS or CDSL, or whether it is an intermediary like the brokerages. I am making a general statement. I am not naming any company since we don't have coverage. So all these companies are also going to do extremely well because the participation will increase, volumes will increase. For CAMS like company, I think the footfalls will also increase. So these are all very fundamentally strong stocks related to the Indian stock market. But you need to have, 2.5, 3 year plus kind of time.
All right, so that's the take coming in on the sector's perspective, not particularly for CAMS. So that's the take coming in from Gaurang. But on that note, thank you so much, Kunal, as well as Gaurang, for patiently answering all the stock-related queries and also resolving the queries for our viewers. Thank you so much for being part of the show. But let's move on. And what was supposed to be a memorable as well as cherished air show experience for lakhs of people at Chennai's iconic Marina Beach turned out to be a disaster, as 5 people have died and around 90 hospitalized due to heat stroke. Let's go across to my colleague Dharani for the latest on that.
Around 10 to 12 lakh people attended this event that happened between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. in Chennai yesterday. So Chennai, as we all know for a fact, is a very hot city. So because of the heat and the humidity, a lot of people experience dehydration and other issues. And now we are given to understand that 5 people have lost their lives after attending the Indian Air Force's air show on the Marina Beach yesterday. Apart from the 5 people who lost their lives, over 100 people were hospitalized with issues of dehydration, nausea, and others. So right now the state government is yet to put out any official numbers, but we have got a clarification tweet from the health minister of the state, Ma Subramanian. So this clarification tweet is about the arrangements. He's only talking about the arrangements. He is telling that the state government made all the arrangements in accordance with what was requested by the Indian Air Force. 40 ambulances, an adequate number of doctors and nurses. They were deployed at the spot to make sure everything is flawless. And he's also going on to tell that 100 beds and 65 doctors were also kept ready in various government hospitals across Chennai city. 7,500 police personnel were on duty, for security maintenance, surrounding the venue is what he's telling. But despite this, now we're given to understand that 5 people have lost their lives. But interestingly, in the tweet by the health minister, we couldn't see any mention about the chaos or the deaths. He's only talking about the arrangements made by the state government.
All right, so that's the latest update coming in from Chennai. But with this, viewers, it's time to wrap this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. Thank you so much for watching. But stay tuned. Markets and noon will take the action ahead.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.